Yes, I thought this. I was always sort of racking my brains what to do really for a presentation because do I do a how much is this house worth? How much is this flat worth? And do a little quiz to see whether you could sort of work out a value of the different properties that we do. But I realised with a lot of networking and sort of speaking to people, it's about knowing the person that you're speaking to, and conversations start from very small bits of information that you might know about somebody. So I thought I'd sort of tell you about me more than anything, about where I came from, the sort of resume of the different jobs I've done over the years, how I've got to where I am today in this business, sort of fell into it. So, and then I sort of talk about the business at the end. So my name is Bob. I'm married with 3 children. I'm married to Zoe. I've got 3 children, Hudson, Ariana, and Olivia, and a Labrador, Jackson. I had my first child at 50, so it took a long time to get there, but we got there in the end, is the way to put it. I was brought up in Clacton from the age of 4. I was actually born in South London in Streatham, but when my parents split up at the age of 4, we then moved to Clacton-on-Sea. Went to Holland Park School in Clacton, and then when I left school, all my friends seemed to go off to university and to colleges at that point, and I went and started selling Kiss Me Quick hats on Clacton seafront at the age of 16. I did engraving on the seafront. Sold, I don't know if you remember, some of the older ones might remember sort of the musical windmills and pub mirrors that you used to see. So it would be like Guinness or Heineken or sort of embezzled onto a mirror. I used to sell all those on stalls on Clacton seafront. Going on from that, I then started delivering supplies to bingos up and down the coast. So from Whitby down to Skegness to Great Yarmouth, right round Margate, Ramsgate, Hayling Island, I would deliver all the prizes that you would get in prize bingos. So when you sat down and you got a line or you got a full house, you get a ticket, and then you can then redeem a prize for your tickets. And I was to supply all the goods for that. And that led me to becoming actually a bingo caller. I became a prize bingo caller at St. Nosey's Beach, and I did that for a couple of years. I met my first wife playing bingo, and that was because I said it's me and you, number 2, or you and me, number 3, and the relationship started just from me playing bingo, really. She was from the East End and lived in East Ham, and we decided to become publicans. So we went training with Macmullen's Brewery, and at 24, I became the youngest landlord of a pub in that brewery. We trained at the Angels Reply in Hitchin, and then went on to become landlords at the Green Man in Nickleford, just up the road towards Bedford. That was interesting times. At 24, I didn't really have massive life skills at that point, but I had to deal with a lot of people who were sitting there drinking and drinking and drinking. And having to throw one person out of the pub who at one point who was becoming quite aggressive was very difficult at that time. At the age that I was to someone who was a lot older and a lot bigger than me at the time. But I had to support the other clientele in the pub, so that was okay. We then moved to, when I left that pub, we were asked to go and run a Conservative club in East Ham in London. And so I was a steward there for some time. So I had to deal with a lot of committees. They had a committee for darts, they had a committee for dancing, they had a committee for snooker, they had a social committee. So anything we had to try and do within the Conservative club, we had to go through all these different committees. So that was an interesting times as well. From there, unfortunately, then my relationship broke down with my first wife, and I moved back to Colchester. And I became a landscape gardener. I worked with my brother-in-law to help him build up his landscape gardening business. Did that for a couple of years. From there, I moved to Southgate in North London and became a financial advisor tied into Legal and General, mortgage advisor, pensions. Didn't enjoy that too much. Then started selling private healthcare. Then from there, I went into double glazing, Dan. Where we were got appointments by door knocking, and then ended up sitting in someone's house for 3 or 4 hours, going through a selling circle to sell them windows, but I didn't. The moral side of me stopped myself doing that because it became quite. You're sort of forcing yourself on people to sell them windows, so I sort of stepped away from that. And then after that, I went into advertising. So I started selling advertising space in magazines, which is all telephone based. So you would phone the brand manager for tomato ketchup, for Heinz tomato ketchup, and ask them to advertise in a magazine. And obviously all different brands and different titles on that side. From there, I then opened my own publishing company with a friend of mine, and we launched the in-flight magazines for EasyJet and Ryanair and Virgin Express. So I was day-to-day working with Stelios for EasyJet, Michael O'Leary, and even though I never got to meet Richard Branson, I spoke to him a couple of times when we developed their in-flight magazines for Virgin Express, which is a hub out of Belgium. From there, I met Zoe in 1998. I moved back to Colchester and became the business development manager for the Institute of Customer Service, which was a not-for-profit professional body who provided the framework and the qualifications for customer service throughout the UK. And I found that I couldn't progress anymore in that business because everyone above me was, I'd have to wait for somebody to die to become a director. So I felt I needed to sort of move on, and I was approached by a friend of mine to start a business called independentowners.com. I'd like to say very early days Airbnb type thing. It was a framework for people who owned holiday homes to provide build their own websites using our templates, advertise their properties on the internet, and also book people in your calendar system. The fact that Airbnb is about to float for 40 billion means that we probably didn't push independent owners as much as we should have done at the time. Working with the internet, we then progressed to buying and selling traffic on the internet. So a lot of the pop-ups you used to see, a lot of the sponsored links around Google and Bing and Yahoo were down to us to lead people to go to websites, to get traffic to progress to websites for them to get leads, perhaps to Barclays or to Lloyd's or to a bakery in the local village. Whoever was advertising, we would try and push traffic their way and get paid for it. During that time, it's quite an affluent time for me. At that time, I owned 3 racehorses. We helicoptered into Cheltenham for race meetings. We went and moved to Spain for a year, lived in just north of Barcelona, and then also down in Mijas. We came back to the UK and we sold that business. And I was looking for something else to do. And then I fell into property. I was a landlord myself already in Colchester. And if I can share my screen now. Let's see what we can do. Which one am I doing? Everybody see that? So a friend of mine ran an estate agent in Colchester, and he only did sales, he didn't do lettings. And I said, why don't you do lettings? He said, it's an absolute nightmare. I said, well, would you like me to start a lettings arm as part of your business? It'd be separate, but using their branding. So we did. They had branches in Colchester, Wickford and Basildon, and we built up a portfolio of that's not going to move, is it? I'm trying to change the. Is that moving on for you now? No? Yeah? Okay. We built up a relationship with the vendors and of that estate agency, and we starting in 2016, we built up a network of 155 properties, as I've said before, about 125 landlords, and then I felt that we needed to rebrand. So 2 years ago, at the end of 2018, we rebranded as James Leigh Property Management with my own sort of charter, which is what you're seeing now, sort of moving along the screen, that we provided a service that was personal, and I only dealt in lettings. But the landlords, or a couple of landlords, came to us and said, "Will you sell our properties for us?" So we decided to do that, and we found that we were doing a good job with sales, as good as we were doing with lettings. So now we are moving forward to setting up a sales team here now. I've teamed up with or partnered with Keller Williams, which is the global estate agency, and they are providing us with lots of support and a network of 300 partners across the UK that we can work with as well and advertise our properties through. And Keller Williams means that we provide a bespoke and personal service. So I've done viewings at 8:45 at night. I've done viewings at 7:30 in the morning. We really sort of tailor our job to what's required by the vendor, the availability of the viewer, and it's always me that goes on the viewings as well. So therefore, I get to know the buyers at the same time. We've now started to build up our using Ian at Stonehouse with PR wise, we're getting our name out there. We're starting to move our brand forward. We've got an instant valuation tool now that we use. So literally, you can log on to this site, to this page, and put your property address details in, and it will give you a ballpark figure what your property is worth, using your postcode and the type of property that you want to sell. And then from that, we can obviously contact you to see if we can come and visit you to give you an actual valuation of the property. I like to think that building relationships through the networking groups, obviously through my personal contacts with my landlords, is that everybody knows somebody that is thinking of selling, and I would like them to pass their details on to them so that we can approach them to help them with that. I think one of the biggest things from my point of view is that it's a personal service, and it's really we care, and we will never value a property to get it on our books. So there's something known as the anchoring effect. So a high street agent may attend a property and say your property is worth £400,000 when in fact it's only worth 350 or 360 to get the business, but we will never do that. So we will only work with vendors who understand that we know what we're talking about and that we care. Hopefully that's me. So Rob and I were just in a group together. We're saying about all the different jobs we've done, and Rob alluded to a number of jobs that he's done in the past as well. So it's quite interesting.
You sound like you've had quite a variation, though, Bob. I mean, you've gone from sort of things like landscape gardener into finance, kind of, and sort of mortgage and stuff like that.
Yeah. When my first marriage broke down, and I came back from being the steward at the Conservative Club. I came back to Colchester, or came back home, if you like, to my old stomping ground. I didn't know what I wanted to do next then at that point. And my brother-in-law had started a landscape gardening company, which is now one of the largest in Essex, Decott's Landscapes. And so I worked with him, a bit of turfing, a bit of fencing for a while to work out what I want to do. And then, as you do in life, you meet somebody else. They lived somewhere else, so I moved to where they lived, and so then I was looking for jobs in London. And actually, I was scouring the Evening Standard looking for work, and it was all security stuff, like sitting in the lobbies of buildings in the centre of London, just sort of letting people in and out, and night shifts and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So I thought, well, I'll get into sales, which I didn't think I'd have been in before. Obviously, I had been in a pub because I'm selling beer. I had been working on the market traders because I was selling Christmas decorations, pub mirrors and windmills. But so I got into sales, and that's well, I went from one to another, really sort of finding which one I liked. One of the things I quite enjoyed the advertising sales. I found you're using a telephone, so you have to use your voice. You're not face to face, so you have to use sales techniques and open closes and puppy dog closes and ask the question, then be silent, and what sort of stuff. You sort of learn all those things through that side of it. So yeah, varied. I think because of personal circumstances changed each time, really. If I found that I couldn't progress any further, I would then go, right, where do I go now? Where do I move now? And since starting my publishing company, I've always just wanted to work for myself. And each time I started a business, I sold it, or it's passed on to another member of the team, and I moved on to do the next one. I sort of fell into residential sales really just from a conversation at my son's second birthday with another dad who did estate agency, only did sales, and I just said, why don't you do lettings? And he said, it's a nightmare. So I thought, I'm a bit of a loose end at the moment, why don't I do the lettings arms for you? And sort of fell into it that way really.
So what is a puppy dog close? I haven't heard of a puppy dog close.
You put the puppy in their hands. So basically, it's car salesman will say, we'd like to do a test drive. So
Right,
you get in the car and you go, oh, this is nice. So you're feeling the benefit of the product.
I like that idea.
Yeah, so the puppy dog close is you put a puppy in someone's hand, they go, oh, can I take it home?
I like that.
Yeah.
So then worked in ad sales, and we never used to sell the inside front cover of the magazine. And we used to give it to prospective customers to say, look, we're going to give you the best slot in the magazine for 1 month. Inevitably, they would become hardcore sales people sort of for 12 months after that, because they thought we were going to give them that position every single month, not realizing that was the freebie just to kind of reel them in.
Yeah. And then the other closes were, you always do alternative. So would you like the inside back cover or the inside front cover? And then you shush. Or would you like a half page or would you like a full page? Would you like a full page in color or would you like a half page in black and white?
Never give the option of not having.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's always alternatives.
And always be aware of audio, visual, and kinesthetic type character types. So if someone's visual, show them the puppy. If they're kinesthetic, give them a puppy. And if they're audio, tell them how lovely the puppy is. And you'll get, so if people talk about how they feel, how do you feel about that? Or do you see what I mean? Or how does that sound? You're going to attract different types of people based on the language you use. So it's a little bit NLP stuff, but audio, visual, kinesthetic sales, depending on the person you're in front of.
And then when I was doing double glazing, it was very much about body language, because you're face to face with somebody in their lounge or in their dining room or kitchen, selling the windows to them. So working out whether they were positive, which way to turn with your presentation.
Sounds as if everybody was Kirby cleaners there.
Well, yeah, it was type of thing. Yeah, exactly. I did look at that, but they were like £1,800 each, weren't they? I think at the time.
Something like that.
Yeah, for a vacuum cleaner.
Trying to get rid of somebody once they was in the house was here forever. Go away.
Yeah, and that's what I said. Morally, I left the double glazing because that was the way that was being presented. As I was in some people's houses from 7 in the evening to 1 in the morning. Somebody even offered me if they wanted a bed for the night to stay, and then we'd carry on talking in the morning.
I think a good way of getting rid of people at your house is to have a copy of the Watchtower available and offer it to them. They'll soon leave.
We've just got 4 exuberant dogs that we can release.
Yeah, that'll work as well.
One-to-one, Rob asked me what was my favourite or role, if you like, or job that I've had, and I couldn't really put my finger on which one it was. It's just the fact that I enjoyed taking something from nothing or very low down to something, and meeting targets or building a business up from small to large. And I think that was I enjoyed the challenge of that, rather than actually whether it was a pub or a window or a internet website. I think it's just the progressing something from nothing to something. And don't ever buy a racehorse. Absolutely. I think the lifetime winnings was, I think, £849. I think I got it. One of them came third in a point to point up in Newcastle or something. It's like £849, but the cost of running them was absolutely astronomical. It's ridiculous. So Yeah,
Your own puppy dog moment, didn't you there?
I did. I was. It was. I was taken to a stable and like, here's a horse. Go, oh yes, I like it.
How involved were you with the horse? Was it just a case of getting updates on it, or?
We would visit the stables quite regularly. We obviously attend all the races that they went to. We could go in the owners circle and the parade ring, and it's quite glamorous, I suppose, in a way. You sort of the cost of running the horse gave you all those access to different parts of the race courses that the normal punter couldn't sort of go into.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would attend the stables probably once a month, sit down, have dinner with the trainer to discuss what we're going to do next with the horse. We chose our own silks, so we could actually go on and say, right, we want this color and we want that hat, and yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah.
But in the end, we realised that we weren't very good owners, as in we chose the wrong horses to buy. So we decided to get out of it in the end because it just became too expensive.
So with the getting back to property, you said about you do all of viewings yourself. I mean, do you only sort of want, in terms of sales, properties, obviously within a certain distance from Colchester, or?
Yeah, really. So my rentals are across the whole of Essex. So I've got Basildon, Wickford, Grays, Southend, Clapton, Ipswich, Braintree. So I am spread around for my rentals anyway. So I think my sales, I'm quite happy to be Essex. I can go further afield, but because of the Keller Williams contacts now, there's 200 partners around the UK, or 200 plus partners around the UK. Is that if somebody said to me, I've got, we spoke about property in Leeds, Brad, didn't we?
Yeah.
Is that I can then speak to somebody similar to myself who has the same ethics and morals and the Keller Williams outlook to give them the opportunity to look after your contacts in Leeds. So yeah, absolutely nationwide. But for me personally, I would tend the viewings in Essex, and I only want a handful of vendors at any one time, or any property to sell. I'm not looking to become I suppose perhaps eventually, possibly, but at the moment it's very much I want 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 properties. That's all. I don't want to be 60, 70, 80 where I can't focus on selling every single one of them. Really, I want to be able to say that I am actively promoting and marketing your property and will find you a buyer, rather than just having 80 of them and put them on Rightmove and just hope somebody sees it and phones up to get a viewing.
Having had such a varied background, are you now quite settled on property? Or you?
No, I am. Yeah, no. What, you think I'm going to get out of it again soon? No, I am actually. I think I'm old enough. I think I am settled on property. Is my life plan now, if you like, because I'm 58, so it's build this up over the next 7 years. I'd ideally sort of see 65 as the target to start taking a step back. With this year, we've gone from 2 of us to 3 of us. We've got another one joining us in January. I've got a prospect who's going to join us in March. So what I will do over those next 3 or 4 years is gradually move the business responsibilities to other members of the team, so I can take a step back, but still be lead generating, if you like, for a team, rather than me doing it for me.